All right, guys, let's talk about knowing your numbers with reporting, right? How to actually organize your columns, how to kind of interpret the data when you have a lot of campaigns and ad sets and ads, kind of to make decisions about what you want to scale, what you want to pause, and things like that. So if we open up our dashboard here, you can see that there's kind of the rules section. And we've talked about this a couple of times, but I think it's probably one of the most important ways to kind of automate your decision making, right? Because people tend to get emotional if you really like an ad, you want to see it succeed, or whatever the case may be. And I kind of try to like take that emotion out of the equation just by creating rules. And so just really quick, we'll go over this, and then we'll go over the columns that I like to use kind of to present the data in the best way. But the two ways that I like to do this, guys, well, let's go into ad sets here really quick, and then we'll make a rule. And we're going to do this with all active ad sets, and we're going to turn off ad sets if the cost per website conversion, right? We're going to do cost per purchase because I like to optimize everything for cost per purchase. If you're doing leads or webinar registrations or whatever, you could just do cost per completed registration, whatever the case may be. So we're going to turn off ad sets if it's costing us, if our cost per purchase is greater than $5, right? And so what this means, guys, is, and Facebook auto defaults to doing lifetime impressions over 8,000, because if you don't have over 8,000 impressions, Facebook doesn't deem having enough data to actually make these decisions. And so you can just leave that. This basically means just a total number of times the ad was viewed. So the time range, right? I like to do the rolling average of the last 3 days. Just because it gives you kind of a better picture of what's going on. Just because, for example, one day it might be super high, the next day it might be super low, and then the average of, the rolling average of the last 3 days might be, kind of the average that you're looking for, and still be below Facebook, below your kind of cost per purchase target. And if you do it like one day or whatever, then it's going to kind of screw up the data just because of the outlier. So I like to do the last 3 days. Attribution window is fine. And I like to do it continuously, right? This rule will run as often as possible, every 30 minutes. And then I like to just send it to my email and, to my Facebook as well. And so I would create these rules, right? The other one that I like to do, guys, is about active ad sets. And instead of turning off the ad sets, I like to adjust the budget, right? And so what we're going to do then is we're going to do all active ad sets. We're going to go to adjust budget, increase daily budget by, and we're going to do 16%, just because everybody always does multiples of 5. And the best kind of percentages that I've figured out like over the years and millions of dollars of ad spend on Facebook is between 15% and 25 to 30% kind of at the maximum. You can't really scale more than 30% or even 25% per day without your kind of cost per click and all of your kind of metrics that you're optimizing for kind of going up and getting more expensive. Facebook just won't allow you to do it. And so doing it this way, being patient, and then allowing rules to automatically do this for you, every 24 hours is really going to pay a huge amount of dividends for you. So we're gonna cap this at a maximum daily budget cap, just to make sure that we're not spending more than $1,000 a day on any of these ad sets. We're gonna do it the last 3 days, and the action frequency. We're gonna do this once daily, right? Because we figured out that every 24 hours or so you can increase by 15 to 25, 30% at the very max, without your kind of your metrics that you're optimizing for getting really screwed up. And so I'll do all active ad sets increase by 16% or up to 25 or 30 per day, with a maximum daily budget cap of 1,000, just so they're not actually spending more than $1,000 each. The action frequency is going to be once daily. Lifetime impressions, again, defaults to being above 8,000. And we're going to increase the daily budget by 16% if our cost per purchase is smaller than $5. Right? So this means that all ad sets where we're getting $5 purchases or less, right, really good, right? That means that we're going to increase those ad sets so that they're spending more money. So those are the two rules that I kind of like to use the most often. So now let's talk about the columns. So right up here, you can see columns. If you want to see breakdown, you can see breakdown, by delivery, age, and gender is a good one, right? So we can see that we were showing my ad to females, males, females, males in these age ranges. And we can see, the cost per result for each. So this is a very small amount of data. So let's actually go into one of my other ad accounts really quick to kind of demonstrate this in a slightly better way. All right, guys, so here we are in one of my other millions of my ad accounts, and we can see a lot of data here, right? So this looks a little bit overwhelming. So if we go into breakdown, right, we can see this by day, we can see it by week, we can see it by 2 weeks, month, right, by delivery, all of these different things, right, placement and device. But the one that I'm kind of most interested in at first is age and gender. So we're going to do age and gender. And now we can see, for this particular ad, right, we were targeting Russell Brunson and plus ecom, right, with a Facebook video. So we can see that, we were targeting to these demographics for males 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54. So these are all kind of the split tests here. And we can see that, we had our amount spent. We can see all of our links. And I like to kind of organize just quickly as cost per result, right? And so what we're going to see here is there's some that weren't playing, but we can see that the cost per result now is organized a little bit better, right? So this is per landing page view. So we can see that our 35 to 44-year-old males were only costing us 35 cents per click, when the 25 through 34-year-old males were costing us 45 cents, right? And then the youngest 18 to 24-year-olds were costing us the most, right? And so what we can see is we've got 65 link clicks here for the 35 to 44-year-olds. So this one would probably be the one that would definitely be kind of the most interesting. And so that's kind of how you do the breakdown. You can go by country, region, impression device, platform and device, placement and device, product ID, time of day, right? All of these different things. But before we kind of dive deeper into this, guys, let's go into performance here, and let's take a look at some of these. So we can see, delivery, engagement, video engagement, all different types of stuff. But what I like to do is come into customize columns here. And once we open up custom columns, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff, right? So we don't need to see errors. We don't need to see delivery. We don't need to see when it ends, the schedule, right? And so I'm going to get rid of some of these just so we can clean this up a little bit. So kind of the place where most of the stuff that you're interested in lies. So this is like engagement, right? Here's settings, split test, optimization, but most of what we're interested in, guys, is under the conversion section. And this is the website conversions based on the Facebook pixel, right? So I want to see website purchases, right? I want to see cost per website purchase, which is cost per website conversion, cost per website purchase right here. So we're going to click this one. And those are the main two I want to see, guys. But if you, for example, wanted to see like if you were running traffic to a webinar, you could click cost per website registration instead, and then it would show you based on your Facebook pixel, right? When we install our Facebook pixel and we install our standard event snippets, right? Like that little piece of code that we install after the registration page on ClickFunnels, like I showed you how to do, or that little piece of code that we install on the thank you page or the purchase page that only shows after someone makes a purchase, then we can do, cost per completed registration. We can do cost per website purchase. And so we're going to do website purchases here and then cost per website purchase. So we're going to go to apply. And so now what we see, right, is we see our columns were updated. And we can kind of clean these up a little bit just so it looks a little bit better. Right, and so what we're going to do then is we're going to actually, so we're in just a single ad set here, but we can look at everything as well. So let's get rid of that. And then let's organize by website purchases. Okay, so now we can see actually where we're getting our purchases from, right? So the whole point of kind of these columns, guys, is to make better sense of the data, so you can kind of make intelligent decisions related to that data. So we can see that the 25 to 34-year-old male range, we had 15 purchases, and our cost per purchase was $15.91, right? Which is pretty incredible when you consider that this is a $997 product, right? So that's kind of like a $980 profit per unit times 15, which is pretty good, right? Obviously. And then, so we can obviously know that this is kind of our target demographic in this particular ad set. that we'd be targeting 25 through 34-year-old males, much heavier, because it looks like we've spent about $130 on the 35 through 44-year-old male range, and we haven't gotten a single website purchase, right? And so it's very important to kind of note here the difference, right? And this is kind of like what you learn from split testing. Like if I hadn't have split tested this into 5 different segments, right? The 18 through 24-year-olds, the 25 through 34-year-olds, the 35 through 44, 45, 54, 55 through 64, I wouldn't know that the 18 through the 25 through 34-year-old male range here is literally getting us almost 100% of our purchases out of these 5 split tests. And that's a really unbelievably profitable and beautiful piece of knowledge, because now, I'd know that, okay, well, it looks like we're wasting money on 35 years and older. And so we target, we'd set our rules would automatically raise the budgets for these, but we could know that, okay, now we know that, in this particular ad with these particular interests and things like that, that obviously our kind of sweet spot and our perfect audience lies in the 25 through 34-year-old range. So let's take a look at some other ones. So we see that there's 6 purchases here for a little bit more expensive, $87 per purchase, which is still obviously incredible for a $997 product. It's a $910 profit per sale times 6, which is quite good, obviously. And so we see again the same age range, 25 through 34 seems to be our sweet spot in not only this ad set, but this ad set. And guys, we're looking for patterns here, right? We're looking for, we're looking for things that we kind of see across different split tests, because the point of split tests is not only to figure out kind of your sweet spot in this particular ad set, but it's to understand who your demographic is. So if all of these different ad sets all had 25 through 34-year-old males as kind of the best demographic, then I would know, that maybe when I'm creating my new split test and my new kind of iterations and I'm further optimizing and scaling, that I would start out with 25 through 34-year-old males as my initial targeting demographic, and actually really start to kind of scale from there. And so we see 6 purchases here, but something that's interesting is we see 5 purchases for 35 through 44-year-old males, right? So the interests or the demographical targeting, whatever the difference might be in this particular ad set, it seems like this 35 through 44-year-olds is working significantly better here, because we had no sales here with $130 of ad spend, but here we had $291 of ad spend and we had 5 sales, right? So $58 per sale, is about a $920 profit per sale. And so, these are very important metrics to kind of get a really good understanding of, guys. And that is really like how I do it. We can break it down by age and gender right here in breakdown. And then I like to customize the columns here just by clicking customize columns. And again, the biggest spot where you're going to find all the information is under the conversion section here. And I just go down to where it says website pixel. Website Facebook pixel, and all the data that you really need is right here. Like if you want to know how much it's costing you to get leads, if you want to know how much it's costing you to get checkouts or registrations, right? You can click that here, and then you can actually go down to cost website Facebook pixel, and you can get this right here. And if you've assigned a value to your pixel, then you can put that here, and it'll show you like what your profit is and everything, right? Like it's really kind of easy once you understand what you're doing, and that's kind of the point of this video, and that's the point of obviously this course, guys. And so that is how I know my numbers with reports. That's how I make decisions based on split testing. That was another very quick kind of rundown of how to use rules to automate this, because once you have hundreds and hundreds of different ad sets all going simultaneously, it's very difficult to do this kind of in a manual way. And so, learning how to do it from me the right way to start, you won't even realize how much time you're saving. So that's kind of the point of all of this, guys, so that you learn things right, do it kind of the best way from the beginning, just so you can scale faster and be profitable sooner and really utilize and leverage the beautiful amounts of kind of reports and organization and analytics that Facebook gives you access to. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one, and let's get to the next.